Howdy, we are Group 8, and this is our presentation over our group composition.
Hi, I'm Kate Rosenberg, and my sound was a heartbeat. I created the sound by thumping my fist on my chest and making a irregular heartbeat. This is the tempo because it will become faster or slower depending on the amount of effort exerted throughout our composition. This represents my heart arrhythmia I've had my entire life, which I had to deal with when playing sports because it did hinder me a bit, and I had to be very careful whenever I was performing, especially in dance, because I could get very tired very easily, and it would just happen out of nowhere. This heartbeat will also represent human life at the most basic level because everyone starts out hearing this heartbeat from the minute that they start growing in their mom's bellies, and that's the first thing you hear is your mom's heartbeat. And so it just continues on. It's with us through our entire life. So this will be representing the start of our day, throughout our day, and then you'll hear it change speed throughout the entire day as our student decides to go on different activities. And finally, whenever they get home, it slows back down as they go back to sleep.
Howdy, my name is Rachel White, and my sound is all the dog noises. I have a mini Aussie named Darby, and I love playing with her in my free time. I probably spend more time with her than anyone else. She is literally what gets me through the rough days of normal college life. I have a passion for all animals, not just dogs, even though they're probably my favorite, and want to become an ag teacher so I can share my love of animals with others. The sounds not only represent my dog, but also Reveille, who is an iconic symbol for Aggies as a whole. I used a squeak toy and a recording of dog barking to achieve all these sounds in our composition.
Howdy, my name is Paige, and in order to create my sound, I used two pens to mimic a horse's hoofbeats. I used this sound because I've always had a passion for horses and horseback riding in general. For about 5 years, I used to jump and I would compete, and I absolutely loved the feeling of just being free and connected with another animal. I also really found my love in horses because they helped me de-stress, and they were just beautiful creatures to watch in general. I also used the pens to go faster or slower depending on what gait the horse was going at, and by gait I mean walk, trot, canter, or gallop, and so you'll hear the pens going faster or slower depending on what the horse is doing, because usually you warm up your horse first and then you get to canter and then you cool them off so that way they're not super hot and sweaty whenever you stop riding them.
Howdy, my name is Aaron Ortiz, and the sound I have is the dribbling of a basketball. It demonstrates my love for sports. I can remember always playing and enjoying it. Sport has always gave me the ability to express my emotions. I've learned how to lose and win. I believe that sport has a unique way of making positive impacts on communities by creating a sense of unity. A prime example of that is a home football game. At the moment, I am currently coaching for the first time, and I have the opportunity to set an example of what a good teammate is like on and off the field. My noise will be a clip of a ball dribbling.
Howdy, I'm Alonso Garcia, and my sound is the shuffling of the pages in a book and the closing of the book itself. This is created by letting the pages go from one side to another on their own, as well as just firmly closing the front of a book. The sound represents my interest in reading books, which I've always had since growing up. This is done with the shuffling, but as of lately, over the past few years, I have not been able to get around to reading books, which is represented by the closing of the book. And besides just representing myself, this also represents us as a group, as a culture here in College Station, as college students, as we are constantly reading for classes and studying, and having to deal with a lot of books in general.
Howdy, my name is Esmeralda Gonzalez, and the sound that I have chosen is actually the swish or swoosh made by my flag. As long as I can remember, I have always had a thing for sounds that are also visual, especially those that include an instrument or anything that can be moved, and that's why I chose the flag. when I was a guard girl. There was always something about the way that it made the swish or swoosh as it came up or down or in front of me or behind me or in a diagonal or as I tossed it up in the air. And every time that it came down, it sounded so beautiful and it seemed so beautiful as well. It was not only a visual representation, it was also an audio representation, which was something that you had to actually do or you'd hear if you were doing it. And there was always something about the moment that it came down and it was caught by everyone at the same time that made it so beautiful and made just the sound itself be something that was like unexplainable in the moment and you felt like it was just the right moment. So that's why I chose to switch for the sound of the flag. Thank you.
With all our sounds, we've decided to create a piece that represents the busy life of a college student for any particular day that they go to school. We've created this in the purpose to show a representation of how the day progresses from being simple in the morning to slowly getting more busy as they continue to go to class, begin to do student activities with other students, as well as just going around campus and hearing and seeing everything else that everyone else is doing, and eventually coming to a much more calm and slow end to the day. This represents our student body as a whole. This is our culture as college students, and it really represents the diversity of things that we all do while all being very busy throughout our days as a college student. From cultural aspects to now the musical elements, our group has decided to use the rhythm, texture, and form to better develop our composition. The rhythm is made out of our heartbeat sound, which was created by Kate. This sound can be heard throughout the piece at a consistent pace, but there are a few points where it does increase, but it will eventually come back down. And this is mostly either a background sound or, in some parts of it, the only sound you will hear. And it represents life on a very basic level. And here's an example of that. And moving on to our second musical element, which is texture, which is the amount of sounds going on at a given time. This can be seen throughout our composition by having all of our sounds played together, or just a few at a time, or with just one sound being played at once. And our example will have a few sounds and progress to much greater texture and depth as it progresses. And our third musical element being form, which is represented by the whole composition, as there are different distinct parts throughout the composition, all of which can be told by a slight difference or a greater difference as the song progresses from at the beginning to represent the morning, eventually playing with our dog and progressing over to actually attending school and studying. And as the day progresses, it gets much more busy with student activities and everyone's doing different things at a different time, all and at the same time, and eventually winding down, coming back home, and ending with the day and going to sleep. And this will be our composition.